Hello and welcome back, dear viewers, to this brand new episode of your show, The Untold. My name is Daij Al-Houthari and I'm here with my colleague Hiba Al-Qahtani. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing great, and hopefully everyone who's watching us is actually doing great and really eager to know more about what we're going to present in the episode.
Definitely, Hiba. We are going to meet this interesting guest today.
Yes, which is really interesting, even field. I mean, he's a psychotherapist, and I'm very sure everyone would like to know more about him.
Yes, we need this guy in our lives. We need them. Some people have issues, challenges. They have to seek help from others, and this is the guy. I mean, today we're going to be learning more about his field and about who can seek their help. So yes, definitely.
Yes, indeed. So I'm very sure everyone would like to know more about Mr. Saud AlFarhan. So stay tuned with us.
Welcome back, dear viewers, to the studio, and of course, welcome to the studio, Mr. Saud AlFarhan. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right. So basically, first of all, like in the very beginning of every interview, we would like to know more about our guest and to talk more briefly, just in a brief, about your field and something that we can, start off with.
Sure.
So yeah, you can go ahead.
My field's quite new. It started in the beginning 2000s. It's called positive psychology. And many people ask me what's the difference between psychology and positive psychology, or even psychiatry. Now, psychiatry studies the brain receptors, and basically, if you have a psychiatrical issue, what kind of medication do I need to take to target which receptor in the brain? So it's basically you're studying medicine. Psychology is where you study the diseases and where they come from. For example, if you have a phobia, it's because that happened to you probably when you were a child, you were attacked by a dog, thus you have a dog's phobia. If you have a fear of authority figures, you go back to your childhood and know where that disease came from. Yeah. Now, positive psychology, it's quite different because it studies happiness, success, joy, and how to seek it, how to reach it. And how to reach there using your internal resources, not using a lot of external resources. So more like there is this assumption that everybody could be happy if they know how to tackle their internal resources.
Like memories?
Memories, skills, DNA sometimes, basically your aspect in life, your view, your definition of happiness, your definition of love, your definition of success. Once we tackle all of those, because those are the ones which you build your identity on, once we tackle them, like if you imagine a pyramid, once you tackle them from below, basically everything built on top of that changes. Thus your life perspective change. Thus the result of your life changes.
Fair enough. All right.
That's really quite interesting because we do have that kind of issue that happens with men and women in general. Talking more about finding to reach happiness, or let's say stay in the peak where you are happy, because sometimes I'm in a happy zone, but I do recall that kind of incidents that immediately ruins that kind of moment, that made me goes into sadness. Though I'm happy, but I'm still stuck in that kind of, let's say, a sense of not moving on of a kind of situation. So is that kind of, let's say, similar to what you're dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, we are human, right? I mean, we're not artificially intelligent, but we are human beings. So if we go back to, let's say, the definition of happiness, the definition of a happy person is somebody who's 50% of his life, 50% of his day, happy moments. The remainder 50% is everything else. So if you're all the time happy, we need to take it to a safer place.
Yeah.
But it's only natural to have happy moments and, let's say, unhappy moments. It's part of our internal mind, our unconscious, resolving the issues it has or the moments it went through. So it's only natural to express to have this expression of showing how we feel to others and not all the time being happy.
Right.
Happiness is a path that we are in. It's not a result we seek all the time.
Right.
It's only natural not to reach that stage all the time.
Yeah.
Right. It's just almost like the movie Inside Out, if you have seen
Right.
it. There's like
Yeah, it's based on that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. can relate
expressing
to it.
that kind of, let's say, difficult feelings and emotions, especially for, let's say, kids and toddlers in that matter of sense. But us, as, let's say, adults, do get connected to it really much easily.
Yes, definitely. All right, so when it comes to your, mashallah, 20 plus, 20 more years of experience in this field, of course, you have probably encountered a client that you can never forget, or a case.
Quite a few,
Yeah,
yeah.
can we like talk about these?
My clients inspire me, really. The reason they inspire me is the kind of work I do is I don't fix someone. I never assume, from where I come from, we never assume someone is broken. We just teach the clients what to do and who to be. So we're really working on two aspects: what you need to do and who you need to be able to do what you need to do. So you work on that circle, you know. So if you really teach the client who they need to be, who they need to become in order to be able to do what they want to do, that's inspiring. Because when they come to me and say, "Oh, Saud, thank you very much, you changed my life." No, I just taught you how to do it. You did all the work. Especially when you work with fears or trauma. Let's stick to trauma. When trauma, most people, they define themselves by the trauma they go through. So for an example, if something bad happened to them, like a bad divorce, or they lose a limb, or something bad happens to them, they identify with the situation. So they go into that tunnel and they come out, they become the thing that happened to them, the bad thing that happened to them. So that changes their identity. And when they come to me to see them, I remind them that this is not who you are, that's what you've been through. And there's a difference, it's a totally different ballgame. So they say, you know, I'm searching for my happiness outside of me. And I said, yeah, but you need to know it in order to follow it. So instead of searching for happiness, the sentence itself assumes it's out there somewhere, in that new relationship, that new job, or in the case of the trauma they went through, for it's magically resolving itself. And when I tell them, no, you need to understand that those emotions you need to go through because you're a human being. You're not a Terminator. You're not like the T-1000.
Yeah.
You need to feel those emotions. And once they get that, they start identifying with who they were before the trauma occurred. So the trauma here turns into to be something they went through, not them. And whenever I encounter that, it's very inspiring to me. You see the life change of a person, sometimes in an instant, and sometimes in a bit longer instant. Like it takes some time.
Takes time.
But when you see the results of this happening to them, it's truly inspiring. Even for me as a therapist, I never get tired of seeing that. It really inspires me once they get over it.
It's a joyful moment. It's something
Also it gives me hope. Me as a human, I go through stuff in my life, you know, and whenever I see that, I say, yeah, if they could do it, even though sometimes I need to remind myself, you know, I told them how to do it, but sometimes you need to be reminded that because me as a human being, I get through things as well in my life, that if they can do it, I can definitely do it.
Yeah.
So basically, they know how to do it, but you know, you lead the way. That's it. They do it themselves.
And sometimes, wallah, trust me, it's much simpler. They just need hope.
Right.
That you can do that if you change your idea about yourself. It's as simple as that. We all know how to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning. But most of us don't wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym or, you know, eat that healthy food. But we all know how to do it. We all know, you know, I could just set the alarm. And most of us do. But, you know, that you hit snooze quite sometimes.
That's me. He's talking about me.
That's the story of us, okay? But it takes true courage and guts to actually hit the snooze and, hit the turn off the alarm and actually waking up and go and taking that cold shower and having that, that healthy breakfast and go to the gym. And once they do that, you know, because they are part of the community, thus the community changed. And that's the beauty of it. And that's where the inspiration comes from.
Right.
Wow.
So that's really quite interesting. At the same time, you mentioned talking, let's say, more about different kind of, let's say, people and case and so on. So talking more about the perspective of people, we've always been taught that we have two types of people: the ones who are introverted, the ones who are extroverted. Extroverted people are the ones who like to express, like to talk. Even when it comes into going to a therapist and so on, they easily elaborate. But when we're talking more about an introverted person, he's the person who is really closed, and to go to a person to express themselves is very challenging at the same time.
Antisocial.
So yeah, they're antisocial. They feel, let's say, threatened by what we could say could be used against us. So talking more about that, have you dealt with these kind of, let's say, patient? Are they really, as they say, very, let's say, triggering to deal with? Because whatever you say could be, let's say, taken into kind of, let's say, different path and perspective in that matter.
That's not my experience. I mean, they are the introvert and the extrovert kind of people, but they're just like a different kind of people. It's like having somebody with black hair or blonde hair.
Right.
They identify with themselves and they express themselves differently. Yet it doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It's just like that's how I express happiness. That's how I express my joy. That's how I prefer to write things down rather than to say things to other people. I prefer to be in the background. Other people, they prefer the limelight.
Right.
The world needs both of them. Okay. And the beauty of it, it's knowing, to me, the key to dealing with people, any kind of people, is asking the right questions.
Right.
And, how to ask them and what kind of questions do you want to ask. If someone, to me, my experience still is, when I ask someone, what's wrong with you? Tell me, I want to help you. Or if I would say, what kind of challenges do you have that you want my insights about? Also, still my experience is when I tell someone, write me 10 bad points or bad things that you view yourself as, they'll come just like that. But if I tell them, write me 10 positive things about you, no matter what kind of person they are, they will take their time.
Right.
It's how they're programmed since school, since growing up, since dealing with, I need to find something wrong with me in order to fix it.
Right.
Rather than finding what I'm good at and let's notice that. My experience is when you do that, when you find what's good in you, what you're good at, what are your God-given gifts, your epigenetics gift that you get from your ancestors, and working on that, whatever bad points you have in your life going on, they'll be bearable. And with time, they'll diminish. They will lose their strength because I'm not focusing on them. Their brain works in a way that whatever you focus on, either you want it or not, it will strengthen. It's just by tapping that neural pathway in the brain.
Yeah.
So if you take that law and apply it into finding what's good in me, what kind of skills do I have? Am I good in math or am I good in language? Am I good in arts? Am I good in working with my hands? Am I good in cooking? Whatever it is. If I keep on focusing on that and increasing the skills I have regarding that way in my life or that way in my job, with time, if I'm talking about a job here, my manager would be saying, he has his bad points. He's never on time. He's bad at the meetings. He's always say, if he's an introvert person, he's always silent. But he's the best IT guy I could ever find. I'm never going to let him go.
Right.
If you apply that into your problems, if you apply that into how you see yourself every single day, with time, you will accept your flaws, and you will have a positive points in you that you never even knew existed because you gave them the time to show up.
So now you talked about the skills, the techniques, the way to fix the issues or problems. But now let's be specific a little bit. When it comes to the challenges or issues, what kind of issues or problems I have to seek your guidance? What kind of?
Either you have for an example, if you have something that's stopping you from being who you really want to be. Basically, if one of the broad answer here, the big umbrella. If you have something, to me or anybody else, if I have something that's stopping me from being who I really want to be, how I want to live, I would definitely seek a psychotherapist, a psychologist, or even a life coach, a good one, not a clown. If you want to, or on the other hand, if you're really happy, but you want to even be happier. So you don't have to have something wrong going on with your life. You could also have, I'm quite content, but I want to explore, more areas in my life. And those who come to me like that, for example, people who are really happy in their marriage life, but they're suffering from the emptiness syndrome. All the children got married, the house is theirs for themselves, and it's quite a big house, and we have quite a big time, a lot of time in our day.
How to fill the gaps? Yeah.
How to fill gaps, and it's not just about traveling. Most people say, I'll go more shopping and traveling, yeah?
Right.
But it's not just about that. It's about how can I express myself in this time of my life to my wife or husband. So they come, we're fine, we don't have any problems, but we want to be happier.
Right.
Or even if you want to know how to manage your time better, to be able to go back to your inner resources and explore yourself more. I would call it a safari of the soul. You know,
Safari of the soul. That's
yeah,
really quite interesting.
it's
Nice way to
it's it's
present
a big journey inside of you, and usually it's a very beautiful journey because most people are afraid to go inside of them. You know, I don't want to face my dragons and demons. But
Right.
usually, who you think are dangerous dragons and demons, they end up being small puppies. And once you get to know them, you can grow through them.
That's
Right.
interesting. Right. Well, this is a very interesting topic, to be honest. And dear viewers, if you are enjoying this, well, stay put because we're about to take this quick break and then we'll be back to you with more questions.
And we're back, dear viewers, to continue in our episode with our guest, Saud AlFarhan. So, of course, when it comes into this amazing topic, I'm very sure people are really triggered easily to know more, and especially that once we ended the first part talking more about the safari of yourself and trying to know more yourself. This is, I think, most challenging thing is people would always blame somebody, someone about their happiness. We're not reaching towards our goals. We're not reaching toward our points, but never ever would blame themselves. So this is something very challenging for people to admit, and I'm very sure you have that kind of experience with your clients talking and trying to say confront them with the issue, but yet again they're so stubborn in that kind of, let's say, sense of problem. So yeah.
It's easy to blame. It's the easy game. You know, I'm not happy because of my daddy or my mommy did something to me, and I'm not saying that doesn't count. It does count, but to me, as long as you're over 22, let's say, or even 25, خلاص, it's your responsibility. Okay, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to take charge of your life now rather than keeping blaming. If you're a teenager, if you're in the early 20s, yeah, okay, it's cute.
Yeah.
But if you're older than that, you need to take steps. And sometimes they would be a kind of step that you didn't know that you could take it because you were so used to blaming your whole life before that.
Right.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of guts. And when I tell my clients that either through social media or interviews like this, or even one-on-one, or even in my training or seminars, they would say, but I never did it before. I might fail. Most probably you will. I mean, the statistics of you exceeding in something, and if you do it for the first time, it's not high. Of course you will fail. But if you want to increase your status of winning, you need to learn how to lose first.
Right.
And that's the curve.
That's right.
And that's the dangerous part where people say, if you lose, I tried so many times. How many times have you tried? 3. Seriously? You need, okay, what did you do on each time you tried? I did the same thing over and over again. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Try something else. If you don't know what to try anything else until you find what works. If you read, for an example, this book, or you went to this therapist, couldn't help you, go to a different therapist. Or, just keep on trying. It's about having the ferocious resolve to take charge of your life rather than blaming somebody else. Because most people are programmed, and again, it's not their fault. It's how the media went out. It's how what schools told us. It's what our parents told us. Happiness, it's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the dangerous part. But once you re-educate them, or we re-educate our mind, because that's what I went through in the beginning. And I said, well, happiness is within me. Okay, how? And that's the big question. If it's within me, then what do I need to do? Then my professor told me, no, it's who you need to be first. And that was a new concept. And I told him, what do you mean? I'm asking, what do you need to do? And he told me, less doing, more being. You need to become the kind of person who knows and can act on doing what they need to do. And that was the life-changing. That's why in our work, in positive psychology mostly, we work on the identity level. Once you change how you look at yourself, and we understand that happiness is within us, because it's not really within us, it's knowing what makes us happy, and then applying that without needing to reach that thing, because there is no thing at the end of the road. There is no car. There is no big house. There is no big, beautiful wife or Prince Charming. There is no the biggest title in your company. It's about becoming someone who's happy with themselves, and then working from that to becoming a better person who is happy with himself or herself. That's the key to happiness. It's more being, less doing.
Yes.
Write down notes. Take the notes.
And the most important thing is not to connect it with people. Like lots of us connect happiness with a person, and if that person is not there, then that's it. I'm not happy anymore. So I think, I do believe in that, because this is one of the problems.
With a person, with a job, with a thing, with a pet, with a parent, with a child, and that's dangerous. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't not be happy when somebody leaves your life. My father left us 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was hurting. It was really, really hurting to all of us. But when someone goes through grieving, which is healthy, grieving is healthy. Not grieving is not healthy, but grieving is super healthy, because you're processing those emotions. This is how the body processes emotions.
Relief.
Yeah. Imagine if you have a paper cut on your finger, yeah? You hurt your finger. Yeah. In the beginning, there's going to be a small cut with a lot of bleeding, and then it will swell.
Yes.
Swelling is the body healing itself. Then you get the new cells and your finger is fully renewed. This is exactly what happens to our emotions as well. So the part where we think I can't handle it, it's your body and mind healing, adjusting to the new situation.
You're fighting through it.
Yeah, you're making a lot of changes in your unconscious level. Sometimes you need help from a therapist. Sometimes you don't. Not everybody needs a therapist, but some people do. And once you put that in your mind, then you would know the pain I'm going through is healing. It's part of healing. Right. It's where I process the emotions. So what's wrong is putting something or someone else the center of my life. But what's proper is you are the center of your life, and everything else you're playing roles that are important to your identity.
Around us.
Yes. And those roles are important to your identity. It's how you express yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you need to, destroy everything in the world and be the man of your life and all, or the woman of your life. Yes. I'm not saying that. It's in a healthy way. If you put yourself as the center of your life, whatever you lose in your life, you're going to be losing something that you're expressing a role through. So with time, you're going to find another role to take that part in your life. And this is how you continue living. If somebody left us, when someone who's grieving because, my mom died of, for whatever reason, or I lost my son, or I lost my daughter, I would say, if they're now with us, if I was a magician who brought their soul and they're talking to you now, would they want you to grieve for 6-7 years?
No.
No,
definitely.
And
not.
what you're doing is not helping them, assuming they are watching you. And but if I became happy, I'm betraying them. Really, would they really want you to be grieving for 10 years,
right?
Or whatever time you've been grieving? Grieving is important, but we need to put a time to it. Where I would throw the grievance off my back, and I live to honor their memory, not to feel sad because of they left me.
That's definitely correct, and I highly recommend doing what Mr. Saud AlFarhan mentioned, because you just let it go. If they watch you, they're not going to be happy watching you, grieving or being sad.
Most likely not. No, they would want you to be living the life that they wanted you to live.
Now, being the center, I don't know, it somehow brings us to narcissism, I guess.
It's the flavor of the day, isn't it?
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, well, narcissism is a personality disorder that someone is not at the center of their life.
It's a disorder?
It is a disorder, yeah. It is in the DSM. It's uncurable. So you can't fix a narcissist, but you can fix its victims. You can help them, get over the trauma that's been built by the narcissist person. But it's a narcissist has this empty, grandiose image of themselves. They're highly deserving, and they have zero empathy toward anybody else. So it is a disorder. It's not somebody being the center of their life in a healthy way. No, they are the center of their life based on how they make you look at them, and they use you. They will use you, they will betray you, and they will want to destroy you if you are better than them in any way, because you are a threat to their fragile ego.
Yes.
So we're talking a totally different issue here. Narcissism is dangerous, and it's prevailing now. And if somebody who has if somebody in a life with a narcissistic parent or a spouse or a child or whatever, I would highly suggest seek help.
So it's a very serious.
if you have
Because you can't convince them to. It's
They're
not
not
curable.
curable.
you're not going to be able to change them, and there's a biological reason for that. The main biological reason for that is that as a narcissist, they did not learn to be an empathic people. They cannot empathize with you,
Yes.
and empathy is a game that you learn in your childhood. You cannot learn it in your adulthood. That's why we do not diagnose a narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, if they're under 20. We don't do that. If you did not learn to empathize with others, you cannot learn where they came from, why they're doing what they're doing, what's their background, and you empathize with that. If you did not learn that in your childhood, you'll never be able to learn that in your adulthood. It's because the amygdala is fully it's fully grown.
Yes.
So you cannot build a new neural
There's no
pathways in there.
chance for it
There's
to
no
grow.
chance for
So
them.
there's a chance if they were like 20 or below that, the age then.
Yeah, it depends on the person, but generally, yeah, because we don't diagnose before that age. So maybe you can teach them, but the best time to teach them is really in their childhood.
That's really quite interesting to honest to hear about, and especially to learn that if you are actually associated with such character, that you actually could seek help for yourself. It's not for them.
Yeah,
but
because you will be
yeah.
destroyed long term. I'm not kidding. You will be destroyed long term,
so that's
depending on the kind of narcissist you're living with. There is a kind of there's one or two kinds. You know, the social narcissist or the weak narcissist. I wouldn't want to be traveling with them for summer holidays anytime soon. Those kind of people, those personality disorders. But the other kinds of narcissist personalities, they are destructive and they are dangerous
Oh.
for your mental health and your physical health. Yes.
So that's really quite interesting. So there's also another saying is, especially when you're associated with someone at work and they're, let's say, very judgmental, they immediately shift with their, let's say, emotions, and then whatever happens, I mean, if you are in a bad situation, a person, we would immediately, let's say, just say that, you know what, she's bipolar. So it's more of a thing.
Here's my professional diagnosis, by the way, in 2 seconds.
You know what? You know what? She just proved to me that she's a bipolar. So do please elaborate on that kind of sense of
No,
what
I mean,
we know.
it's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why I came up with it for you. So
yeah, I mean, but people with listen, in order to truly diagnose any person, you need to see them professionally more than once. Some of them you need to run them through tests, so you need to get to know them, and you need to be a good psychotherapist to do that. So it's not like something, oh, because you did this to me, then you're that, or because you did this to me, you're a PPD or BAPD or NPD. No. It's because it's more like a tag, and some tags when you put on people, it's like you
it's
kill
like
their
you're
personality.
labelizing them for.
Yeah, it's not quite.
But
It's
if
not the
they
best way to
deserve-
do
I mean,
it.
if they deserve it, they deserve it. But in that matter
Yeah.
of sense, yeah, it does happen actually. Talking more about it, and people wouldn't understand, or let's say, don't feel how stressful it could be for the other person to discover that you're
Yeah,
labelizing
probably. Maybe
them
they
in
had
that
just a
matter of
bad
sense.
day. Maybe
Yeah.
they didn't have a good night's sleep. Maybe they came from a nosy home. Maybe their child, they spend, trying to let their baby sleep at night. Maybe they didn't have their coffee. I mean, the worst thing ever is it's thinking that you know people just because they did this behavior.
Right.
It's not right.
Yeah. Indeed.
Well, it saddens me to tell you this, but I have so many questions left, but unfortunately we don't have enough time to do so. I love how talkative you are and informative. You give us
Thank you,
some
sir.
beautiful, yeah, definitely. Well, you're most welcome. The information, the value information, and I enjoyed every bit of this interview. But unfortunately, we have to take this real quick break before we wrap the episode. So stay with us, dear viewers, and we'll be back.
So psychology is a very big field, and to have Mr. Saud being here and presenting for a different kind of, let's say, aspect of it, and to know more about his specialty is something very interesting.
Yes, of course, and I really hope that we get to see him again in another, like, part 2 maybe.
Right.
We have done that previously in the previous seasons of the Untold, so he have got a lot to say and like lots of information,
Yes.
and I really enjoyed every bit of it. we learned new stuff. So basically, hopefully that you, dear viewers, as well learned and enjoyed this interview with us. And yes, that brings us to the end. So we hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, and we hopefully get to see you again in another episode of The Untold. Goodbye.